A few years ago, I met the love of my life, John. Our relationship blossomed quickly, and before long, we were planning our wedding. Our first years of marriage were filled with happiness and adventure. Together, we faced challenges and celebrate the joys of life. However, fate had a very different plan for us. One day, terrible news shook our world. John suffered a serious accident that left him in a coma. Doctors weren't sure when or if he would wake up. The situation was devastating in many ways, and not just emotionally. Medical bills began to pile up, and the expenses of caring for my beloved husband became overwhelming. I was facing a crossroads: keep the engagement ring he gave me, which represented our love and commitment, or sell it to help cover mounting medical expenses. Heartbroken, I made the difficult decision to sell my engagement ring. It was a painful and agonizing decision, but at that moment, it seemed like it was the only option. I felt guilty for doing it, like I was betraying our history of love and commitment. It was like I was selling a part of our history together. However, as time passed, I couldn't help but wonder if this decision had truly been a stupid move, as I felt at the time. After all, I was doing this to ensure that John received the best treatment possible and had the chance to recover. Sometimes love leads us to make difficult and painful decisions. As I continued to care for John during his years of coma, holding out hope that one day he would wake up, the sold engagement ring remained a bittersweet reminder of our past and the love we shared. Deep down, I knew that the material value of that jewel could never compare to the value of our love and the time we spent together. Life teaches us that love and sacrifice often go hand in hand. Sometimes we are forced to make difficult decisions to care for those we love. In the end, I believe that selling the engagement ring was an act of love and selflessness, designed to give John the opportunity to recover. I hope that one day he wakes up, and we can continue to write our story together, even if part of it was sacrificed along the way. The years passed, and John remained in a coma, oblivious to the decision I had made to sell the engagement ring. Surprisingly, when I finally told him about it, shortly after his return to consciousness, he didn't show the slightest concern. His first instinct was to reassure me that the love we shared did not depend on material objects, but rather on our emotional connection and the memories we made together. John hugged me and said with a weak smile, "Honey, our story goes far beyond an alliance. What matters is that we are together and that you did what you thought was best for us in that difficult time." His words filled my heart with relief and gratitude. That moment of understanding and forgiveness reinforced the depth of our love and the special bond we shared. However, it wasn't just John's kind words that helped me overcome the guilt I felt about selling the ring. The real battle was in the criticism coming from friends and family. Many of them did not understand my decision and considered it selfish or irresponsible. They believed I should have found another way to handle medical expenses without compromising such a meaningful symbol of our love. The criticism from those close to me was hurtful, and I couldn't help but wonder if maybe they were right. I felt judged and misunderstood, which made it even harder to accept my choice. However, John's firmness in supporting my decision gave me the strength to face the criticism. Over time, I realized that other people's opinions shouldn't define what is right or wrong in a situation like this. Every love story is unique, and our story included the difficulties and sacrifices we faced together. The engagement ring may have had deep meaning for us, but the love we shared went far beyond a material object.
I never thought my life would take such a dark turn. It all started when my ex-girlfriend, an incredibly charming woman at first sight, ended our relationship. She always had an impressive ego, but I didn't know she was dealing with someone with narcissistic traits until it was too late. The breakup was painful, as everyone is, but I was determined to move on and find my own path. However, the nightmare really began when she realized that she was no longer in control of my life. She began to threaten me with exposing secrets and intimate details that only she knew. It was as if I was trapped in a cruel game, in which the rules were written by her and I had no choice but to obey. Her demands were insane. She wanted me to attend to her at any time of the day or night, regardless of what she was doing. She wanted money, expensive gifts, and unimaginable favors. She threatened to release compromising photos, private conversations, and personal information to humiliate me in front of all my friends, family, and colleagues. It was like she was holding me emotionally hostage. I was desperate, not knowing what to do. The idea of having my life exposed in this way was terrifying. I felt trapped, powerless in the face of her threats and emotional blackmail. I knew I needed help, but I was afraid to tell anyone about what was happening for fear that she would make good on her threats. Little by little, I began to gather courage and seek support. I talked to trusted friends and told them the situation. They advised me to document all of her threats and demands so that I would have concrete proof if I needed to involve the law. I also saw a therapist to help me deal with the emotional trauma I was experiencing. Eventually, I managed to muster the strength to confront her. I told her that I would no longer give in to her blackmail and that I was willing to fight for my rights. I was firm but calm and said I was willing to go to the authorities if she continued to threaten me. She realized that I was no longer willing to be a victim of her manipulations and, little by little, her threats began to diminish. I'm still in the recovery process, and I know it will take time to overcome the trauma this relationship caused me. But I am determined to rebuild my life and regain control over my own destiny. The experience taught me the importance of recognizing the signs of toxic relationships and not allowing anyone to manipulate me or hold me emotionally hostage again. And so, my life began to unfold into a new chapter, where I was determined to free myself from the emotional shackles that my narcissistic ex-girlfriend had placed around me. The journey was not easy, and there were times when I felt like I would never get out of this nightmare, but with time, patience, and support, I began to regain control of my life. First, I sought legal support. I consulted a lawyer and explained the situation. He advised me on my legal options and rights if I needed to take legal action against my ex. Having this legal support gave me a sense of security and a plan of action in case of an escalation in threats. I also continued with therapy, which was fundamental to my emotional recovery. Working with a therapist helped me understand how I had fallen into such a toxic relationship and how to set healthy boundaries in future interactions. Therapy gave me the tools to rebuild my self-esteem and self-confidence, which had been deeply shaken. Additionally, I strengthened my ties with friends and family. They were incredibly supportive and willing to help me get through this difficult time. Having a strong support circle has made all the difference for me. Knowing that I wasn't alone and that there were people willing to help me face my ex-girlfriend's threats gave me the strength to move forward. Little by little, my ex realized that her threats no longer had the same effect on me. She tried a few final advances, but I remained firm and didn't give in to her blackmail. Eventually, she gave up and sought a new victim to satisfy her narcissistic ego. Over time, peace returned to my life. I knew I still had a lot of work to do to heal the emotional wounds this relationship left behind, but I was determined to move forward. The experience taught me the importance of recognizing warning signs in relationships and not allowing someone to exert control over me in such a damaging way. Today, I am committed to rebuilding myself, strengthening my self-esteem, and investing in healthy relationships. The lesson I learned from this story is that even in the darkest moments,